Today we will look at something very important. We will look at employee engagement. And this is a very critical part of talent management. How do we engage employees? Why is it important to engage employees? What are the consequences of engaged employee as well as employees who are not engaged? So we will look at some of the dimensions of employee engagement today. Yeah, Yashashwini, you have a question? Okay, if no questions, we will just share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we are able to see.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Sorry, it's not talent management, it's employee engagement. So, okay, Benita, would you like to read this? What does employee engagement refer to?
Yep. Employee engagement refers to a psychological state in which employees are intellectually and emotionally involved in their work and are positively connected with both their co-workers and the larger organization. This state of mind fosters a sense of pride, a willingness to apply discretionary effort, and most importantly, ignites energy that would not otherwise exist.
Thank you. So as you can make out, this is technically this is referred to a psychological state in which employees are intellectually and emotionally involved in their work, and they are positively connected with both their co-workers and the larger organization. So the state of mind fosters a sense of pride, a willingness to apply discretionary effort, which is so sometimes, generally what happens is whenever there is a work job to be done, we apply effort and get the job done, and the job typically is aligned to our KPIs. Now, discretionary effort is different from regular effort because discretionary effort is the additional effort that you put in to do something which may or may not necessarily be a part of your KPIs, or even sometimes when it is a part of our KPI, we do only maybe 30, 40, 50% of our KPI, and we do not do all the things that is listed in your annual appraisal form. So you exercise discretionary effort, which means extra effort, and most importantly, ignite. Look at the word ignite. That's a very powerful word. Ignites energy that would not otherwise exist. So when people are engaged, they have a energy level which is far above what is a normal energy level that you see in an office. So that is the power of employee engagement. It extracts more effort, more focus, more commitment, more energy from the employee. Now, here are some statistics. This is from a study. Towers Perrin is a global HR consultancy. And what they talk about is there is a direct correlation between how engagement works. So they say that 12-month change in operating income is this, and it's minus 32% in terms of. So basically what it's saying is that there is the greater the employee engagement, you have increase in growth per share, in terms of net income, in terms of operating income. You have basically there is an employee engagement which overall tends to be negative. Very often what we discover is that, and I will show some more statistics, Basically, one statistics is that only about 20% people are deeply engaged with the workforce. The rest of the 80% people are engaged, disengaged. Some people are actively disengaged. So therefore, you see minus 32%, minus 3.8%, minus 11.2%. These are basically the levels of disengagement. So here is a statistic which is very important, which says that only 21% people are really engaged with the work that they do. 41% people are enrolled, which means that my name is there in the employee rolls of the company. I am enrolled. I come in at 9 o'clock. I leave at 5 o'clock. In between, I do some work. When my boss is observing me, when nobody's observing me, probably I will go out and have a cigarette or spend some time in the cafeteria, loiter around, and go back home in the evening. 30% people are disenchanted. They are not interested. You know, they are not happy. They are not productive. They are not engaged. And 8% people are disengaged. You know, so they are not engaged at all. They don't want to do any work, and it's very difficult to make them do anything at all. Now, according to one statistic, only in the US, I'm not talking about India, only in the US, every year they lose somewhere between 250 to 400 billion dollars in lost productivity. They lose productivity because people are not engaged. If people can do X, they do X over 2. They do half X. So as a result, when a company can do X amount of, let's say, sales or X amount of target achievement, it does only half X. So therefore, there's a huge wastage of anywhere between 3 to 400 billion dollars every year, and that is just official statistic. Unofficially, probably it's much more. In India, I don't know what the number is, but very often I go to there are some offices which are very good, but there are many offices where you go and you discover that people take a lot of time to help you in any way, be it some sort of a bank or some other organization. You go to book a railway ticket or anything like that. If you try to do it online, there are some problems. If you go there to book one, you have to stand in a long queue. Uh, People will go out for lunch and all kinds of things. So that is from the public dealing experience that you get. You feel that many offices are not very efficient. So that is how lost productivity results in lost revenue, lost income, and now let's see what we can do about it. Any thoughts so far on this particular statistic?
Sir, what is the difference between disenchanted and disengaged employees?
So disenchanted is somebody who's unhappy. I am not interested. I am not happy. I am not excited. I am here because I don't have another job. Otherwise, if I had another job, I would have left. Disengaged is somebody who is actively almost hostile, that this place is very bad, and unfortunately I'm stuck over here, and I really hate this place. So it's a very strong emotion.
Okay, sir.
In one of the companies I used to work, one person, he got another job, and he quickly left. He did not even serve his notice, though a deduction was made from his salary for not serving notice. And he was so disengaged in that company that he said, I just don't want to leave. You know, so I have served notice. I will not serve my notice period. And if they want to deduct my salary, let them deduct. But I don't want to work for one more day in this organization. And he just took his experience certificate and left. So that was the very high level of disengagement. He was not interested. Have you come across such employees?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any experience you would like to share?
In my organization only, there was a lot of pressure, and there was change. Like I was working in a news organization, and we were going from pure physical papers to a digital medium also. So people were supposed to completely change the system, and all the reporters were required to get photographs for all the stories. While earlier there was a photographer, independent photographer with the reporter. So many reporters felt that this is absolutely useless, and there was so much pressure on the reporters to get these all these details and in a soft copy instead of a usual hard copy paper and pen that they were used to. That three of the people just refused to come. Like they training हुआ, फिर pressure हुआ उन पे, and three of them decided that we are not going to come only. They stopped picking up the phone and they just emailed their letter.
Exactly,
of
exactly. True, Benita. Thanks for sharing. Yes, especially this happens all the more when there is a change that is taking place in a company, and the change is not communicated properly to the employees and other stakeholders. Then this disregard or disenchantment happens more sharply. Okay, so moving on. So, according to statistics, engaged
in
employees are six.
Can I ask one thing? Like,
Yes.
yes, what was the problem? Like, what could have been the issue? Was it just that these people were not amenable, or it would be that the management introduced the change and they did not engage with the employees properly? What could be the issue?
So this is, Benita, this is a general statistic of, about 200 companies, which this company Towers Perrin had done a study on. And they found, this was what the statistics they found, that only 21% are really engaged. Rest 79% are either enrolled, disengaged, disenchanted,
That is
So
very bad for the HR community, isn't it, sir? So, and companies are also at a loss because just 21% engaged means we are losing out on so much of issue, so much of efforts.
yes, I completely agree with you. And sometimes, sadly, even HR is disengaged. So you don't know, you know, you don't know
This,
what to do.
so this fits to the Pareto principle of 80-20. So there's nothing wrong. 20% engaged, 80% disengaged. Broadly.
Yes, Mr. Sahu, you're absolutely right. So Pareto, Wilfredo Pareto was a political scientist about 150 years ago in Italy. So he just, said this, that statistically this is true, and you are absolutely right. So even without doing a Pareto, we find that the entire company is driven by 20% of the people. Rest 80% people are just, spending time. So, but the challenge is that how can HR move the 41% to the 21% group, the 30% to the 41% group, and the 8% to the 30% group? So, how can you?
So,
Sorry.
how to decide how engaged are the people? What is the methodology of checking how engaged are they?
So there are various methods. Like for example, Gallup throws up information in terms of how people. There are 12 questions, and basically you can make out from a few of those questions in terms of how engaged people are. Then there are different employee satisfaction surveys. For example, GBTW, Great Place to Work. That is also an employee satisfaction survey in a way. So there are many surveys, and you can also design your own customized survey. Hewitt does it annually. Then Mercer does it annually. So there are many surveys which happen, and you can make out from the surveys. Of course, you don't ask people that are you engaged, are you disenchanted, are you enrolled, but you have other ways of indirect questions in terms of finding out how engaged these people are. Also, do a cross check with their managers in terms of, like, for example, Gallup scores are correlated between employee and supervisor scores. So there are multiple ways of finding out how engaged people are, and and then publishing the numbers.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sure. Okay, so the challenge really for HR is that how can we move people, move everybody to either engaged or enrolled. Maybe moving everybody to engaged is very difficult. So that is a difficult task. But at least moving everyone to at least the enrolled to engaged, disenchanted to enrolled, and disengaged to disenchanted. So that is what we will look at today. Okay. According to research, 6.5 times are more likely to identify their organization as one of the best performing organizations in its sector than to identify it as a below average performer. So engaged employees are, likely to, how, like you asked me, how do we find out? So if you, let's say, if you indirectly ask people that, do you see your organization as one of the leading organizations in your sector? So engaged employees typically tend to say, yes, my organization is the best. We are the leading company. We have cutting edge technology, so and so forth. Then engaged employees 1.5 times more likely to stay with their organization for at least 5 years. So you can even make out from the tenure of the individuals in the organizations. Nearly 2 times more likely to say that customers think highly of their organization's products and services. So they are ambassadors of their company. They endorse the products and the service of their company. And that shows that these people are engaged with their company. So these are some ways of finding out, but otherwise, what is most important for people, for engaged employees, is that their productivity tends to be higher than the other employees, which is the greatest benefit for a company when it has engaged employees. Then that means you are really getting a bang for your buck, because whatever is going on in terms of cost, their CTC, their seat cost, uh, whatever cost, you are getting a good return for those costs and investments that you're making. So this is just one statistic from a survey which I've taken. Now, generally what happens is that uh, we don't know what is the impact of employee engagement. Now there is a thought, and there is also a book that employees come first, customers come second. So the point is that if you have engaged employees, and if you are in the B2C business of interacting with customers, then if you have engaged employees, chances are that your customer satisfaction is going to be very good. But if you have unhappy employees, if you have disengaged employees, then that impact is going to show on your customer satisfaction scores. Because if your employees themselves are unhappy, how will they ever make the customers happy? That's a simple logic. So Azim Premji from Wipro and Vineet Nair from HCL both have stated at different times that for them, the heart to the customer really lies through the employee. If they don't serve the employee well, then the employee will not serve the customer well. And if the customer is not served well, then the customer will not come back to your company. So therefore, treat your employees well, and your customers will automatically get taken care of. So how now how do we drive employee engagement? That is the key question for us. So here is a model that everything eventually leads to, contributes to employee engagement. So at the top, you start with strategy. What is your organizational strategy? How is the leadership driving it? The leadership has a very important role to play in driving engagement. If the leadership is driven, it is driving engagement, then people are driven, people are engaged. the leaders create the culture in the organization. They create the climate. If the leaders are positive, they are really gung ho about the company. They say that, yes, this is our future and we want to build our future in this company. Then employees fall in line, provided the leaders are good leaders and they are able to motivate the employees. So the climate they create in an organization, that has a huge impact on whether people are engaged or not engaged. So you can see the leadership contributes to employee engagement, that results in customer experience, okay, and that results in organizational performance. And on the sides, you have the enabling structures, which are culture, your values, the structure, capacity, capability, and the people, systems, and processes. So while strategy is good, but as they say that part of strategy really lies in execution. The strategy is good or bad, as good or bad as its execution. If the execution is good, then the strategy is good. But the strategy has to be brought into life by the leadership, and the leadership has to be supported by the right values, the right culture, the right structure. For example, there are organizations which have flat structures, so the leader is able to quickly influence the next in line. But there are organizations which are hierarchical, where the leader finds it difficult to influence the front line because the leader is 6 or 7 levels removed from the front line. And therefore, the leader's message may reach the front line, but like in Chinese whispers, the message may get changed. So therefore, the leader's influence gets diluted. So therefore, the structure of the organization is very important. Similarly, the people, systems, and processes. Like one of you asked that, how do we evaluate employee engagement? Now, if you have employee satisfaction surveys, that shows that you are worried about your people, you have good systems, you have good processes, and therefore you are doing an employee satisfaction survey. And once the number comes out, what gets measured gets done. Your people are satisfied or not satisfied. And all of this results in good employee engagement, which results in good customer experience, and which results in good organizational performance. Is it making sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So moving on, there are various drivers of engagement, and that is what we will be looking at today. That how do we drive the engagement from a HR perspective, from a talent management perspective? How do we drive engagement? So first is work processes. It's a category of people, systems, and processes. What sort of processes do you have? Uh, like last time we were talking about companies which just hire people. I need to hire, let's say, 3 assistant managers. So I go and I look for assistant managers. I just hire them. People I'm looking for graduates. I am looking for people who have worked in the financial sector. So I just go and look for financial sector graduate, 5 years experience, assistant manager, and I go and hire. But I may also have a process where I screen them for certain competencies, which will refine my search and allow me to screen for talent which is aligned to my values. Okay. So what kind of processes do I have makes a big difference. Next is learning and development. What kind of learning and development interventions do I have? And I think we had discussed about the Hawthorne experiment sometime in the 1930s in the US about the state of lighting that was used for some workers. Did we discuss this?
No, sir.
No? Okay. Okay, so we will come to it. Then culture, culture is very, very critical. Culture is there in every part of an organization. We cannot say there is no culture. Culture is there. It could be a good culture or it could be a not so good culture or a bad culture. But culture is always there. You can't run away from culture. What kind of senior leaders do you have? Leaders exercise a huge influence on the company. on the culture of the company, on the work processes of the company. So, what kind of leaders do you have? Are they people of integrity? Are they people of their word? Are they people who are committed? Are they people who are sincere? Are they people who are focused on people? So, all that makes a lot of difference. So, therefore, the quality of your senior leadership almost decides the quality of the people in a company. Next is communication. Now, communication is very, very critical. What kind of communication goes on in the company? Many companies are silent. There is no communication at all. While there are some companies which communicate a lot, which keep telling people what is going on, what are the plans for the next quarter, what are the plans for the month, this year, what is it that we need to achieve. So, lot of communication. One company I worked for, they had two communication departments. One was internal communication, and one was external communication. Uh, uh, Public relations. So the internal communication team was always busy sending out mailers, updates, and all kinds of messages, while the external communication team was reaching out to the media, to the other stakeholders, to industry leaders, to industry bodies. So there was a lot of communication going on. So everybody in the company knew that what is our revenue target this year, what is our margin target this year, what is the headcount that we will grow by. Everybody knew that. But in many companies, there is no communication. And people don't know, other than their own deliverables, they don't know what the company is trying to achieve. Any experience in this area? Anyone?
Sir, can performance counseling be a part of communication?
Yes, in a way it is, because you are aligning somebody to the performance that is expected of. So yes, it can be communication, but maybe not a very direct communication. This communication probably happens when there is a gap in performance.
So basically unilateral communication, and here we are aiming at bilateral communication.
A very good point. So I was talking about unilateral, but in companies which have a good communication system, what happens is it's bilateral, it's even multilateral. Even outsiders can give feedback. For example, vendors, clients, they seek feedback from other stakeholders also. But in good companies, there are also suggestion boxes, there are town halls where people can ask questions. So there is a two-way communication that takes place. Not only is the leadership saying something to the people, but the people are also giving feedback to the leadership. So therefore, it's a communication which happens both ways.
So, sir, the PMS system that has self-filling boxes, is it part of this internal communication or no?
Sorry, say that again.
So, in a company where, in the PMS, you have this entire box where employees allowed to or supposed to fill up his or her own box and tell what went right, what went wrong, what was the environment like, how was the boss behaving. All that is a part of the PMS system. So is that internal communication supporting, or has the communication to be separate, like you said, external communication you have from departments? वैसे पूरा internal communication का I think Bombay Stock Exchange has an entire internal communication department. ऐसा ही separate हो तो ही होता है कि it can be just incorporated in company processes like I just mentioned about the PMS.
So what I had in mind is it should be a separate process. It should not be part of internal communication is a separate process. PMS is a process, and there is some communication, of course, without internal communication, without communication from both sides. it cannot be a fair PMS. So PMS, to be fair, to be accurate, there has to be a two-way communication. But internal communication is more about, PMS is about individual performance and group performance, and communication, internal communication is more about organizational performance, departmental performance. So it's slightly different. But yes, there are many processes which involve communication. So it could be a, one-to-one communication between a manager and a team member. It could be a one-to-many between a HOD and team members. So slightly different. But yes, there is an element of communication in many processes like PMS.
Sir, one thing I want to say that if
Yeah.
formal communication like mailers or some communication by internal communication department will work more, or informal communication by interaction with managers or say leaders, that will work more for employee engagement. That will be more effective. What will be more effective for employee engagement? Informal or one-to-one, or this structured and formal communication like mailers or by one specific department to send letters?
See, one-to-one communication definitely happens. It happens as part of PMS, as part of um, employee handling, as part of HR. But when you have a formal communication department, which whose job is to keep telling the employees that this is what we are trying to achieve, these are the events which have taken place, these are the good things we have done, these are the new projects we have got. So then that becomes even more effective, and people are engaged, because one of the biggest reasons why people get engaged is when they see something positive in front of them. And the purpose of the internal communication department is to constantly feed the employees and keep them aware of what is going on. Okay, so suppose I get a new project, and I circulate the news across, the entire company, which may be in India and maybe, let's say, 5 other countries. And when globally this message goes out that we have got this new project, which is of 1,000 crores, and we are going to take 3 years to build this new building. So there is a wave of excitement that goes across the company that we have got this huge project, and it will take 3 years to build. So let's say I was in a company where we had the project of the Lucknow metro construction, the Ahmedabad metro construction, then Eastern Corridor, Western Corridor, railway track project. So when these projects came, and when I used to look after internal communication, and when I used to send out the message, so many, people would be so happy that we have got these new projects, and there would be so much excitement. So that helps people getting engaged. Okay,
Okay,
so
sir. Means imply, it is not imply specific. It is related to organizational achievements. Something good, but means to share, means that will also impact the engagement.
yes, it will.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
The next is structures, roles, and capabilities. So the kind of structure that you have, what kind of roles, are you getting a new opportunity? Is your capability being enhanced? Is the company investing in growing your capability? All that makes a big difference. Then reward and recognition. If you recognize people, if you reward people, then the level of motivation is just electric. Earlier we saw the word ignite. So it just ignites people, and you would have seen when people are given certificates, they keep the certificate in front of their workstation, and to remind them and to motivate them every time when they feel low, that they are one of the best employees. You would have seen that when you go to McDonald's, you see that employee of the month, somebody's photograph is there. And if you see the photograph, and if you see the person serving you is the same, and you say congratulations, just try it sometime, you will feel the happiness that you will see on his face or her face is amazing. I have done that once, and that's really amazing. So reward and recognition has a electric effect on people. Next is customer focus. So is your organization focused on the customer? If you are, then people see the organization very positively. Of course, it should not be that I treat employees badly, but I'm focused on the customer. But if I'm genuinely focused on the customer, then I'm also thinking about my employees and focused on them. Next is strategy. What kind of a strategy do you have? Do you have a good strategy? Are you implementing the strategy regularly? Uh, are people a part of that strategy? Are people expected to play a role in that strategy? Are they playing that role or not? So all this really engages people. When you tell people that, look, you are in the engineering department. The engineering department is expected to fulfill orders worth 2,000 crores. Are you ready for it? When they see a number, when they see that this is what we are supposed to do this year, everybody gets excited. So it's very important to share strategy and tell people what is their role in that strategy. Last but not the least, immediate managers. Immediate managers are very, very, very critical. When people leave their companies, they don't leave a company, they leave their immediate manager. When people stay in a company, they don't stay in the company, they basically stay with their immediate manager. So the immediate manager plays a very critical role in employee engagement. If the manager is positive, manager connects very well with the team members, then people are engaged. And if that is not the case, then they tend to be disengaged. So these are 10 powerful reasons, and we will deep dive into each one of them as we go. So these are some individual drivers of engagement. I'm committed to my company's core values. Our customers think highly of our products and services. My opinion counts. These are how individuals, if they feel positive about all these questions that we have over here, then chances are that they are deeply engaged with the company. If I feel that the answer to each of these is positive, I have a clear understanding of what is expected of me at work. I understand how I can contribute to the meeting and the needs of the organization. I've been fairly rewarded. Senior leaders value employees. Everyone is treated with respect at work, regardless of who they are. I can concentrate on my job when I'm at my work area. My personal work objectives are linked to my work area's business plan. So you can see these 10 questions. They are part of the Gallup survey, or similar questions are part of the Gallup survey. And if my answer is strong yes to all of them, then immediately the outcome says that I am an engaged employee. So any leader who wants a very engaged workforce needs to work towards having positive answers for all these 10 questions. For example, the last one, my personal work objectives are linked to my work area's business plan. This comes through clarity on the implementation of strategy. How is strategy getting implemented and how is it linked to the work that I am doing? Okay. So if I'm clear that this is how I am contributing to the growth of the company, then I will work more, I will be more engaged, I will be more clear in terms of what I need to do. Any questions? Okay, no questions, I'm moving on.
So this will always be introduced by some internal company exercise, or external people can also contribute.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand. Could you just say that again?
Like engagement, you said, right? So if we want our employees to be engaged, does it make sense to have the HR or the business leaders drive this, or we can engage outsiders or consultants to help facilitate this engagement?
Okay, so these 10 questions are taken from the Gallup survey. The Gallup survey is basically the employee engagement or the employee satisfaction survey. Now, this is done. Gallup is a third-party organization. If you invite them, they will come to your organization and they will do a testing. They will also give you. There are some managers who have people reporting to them. They will also give you the managers' people scores. That means how highly the team members rate them in terms of satisfaction. And from these 10 questions, you will get a sense of how satisfied people are with the organization and how engaged they are with the organization. Now, suppose the score is low and you want to improve the score. You can use your own HR, you can use your own leadership, or you can even get a third party company to come and drive the employee engagement. So you can do both. But my submission to you would be, my recommendation would be that it's preferable you use internal resources, because this is something which is a bit emotional, and this is about motivation, and motivation really comes from something genuine which a third party company may or may not be able to achieve, because for them it's more of a project. They are not looking at the outcome of the project, they are looking at the outcome of the Hi, sorry, I got disconnected. Arun, can you give me the rights? Arun, can you give me the rights? Arun?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi. I got disconnected.
Sir.
Hi, Arun. I need the rights. I got disconnected. You need to give me the screen sharing rights. No. Okay, so as I was saying that it's better to drive, allow your HR to drive this rather than getting a third party to do it. Okay.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so moving on. Some of the best practices we are talking about how to engage your employees. So one exercise which works very well is when you promote wellness at the workplace. So let's say wellness comes from nowadays people are very worried about work-life balance, about stress in the organization. So do you ensure that people have appropriate workloads, or the amount of pressure that people experience, is it reasonable? Are the processes and procedures in my work environment, do they promote safe working conditions, especially nowadays, like we were talking about in the beginning of the meeting, that people are now back to working from home because of the rise of COVID cases again. And how concerned is the organization about your safety? People need to be assured that they work in a safe and healthy environment. Uh, can you balance your personal interests and your interest in the organization and still progress? Does your organization promote healthy practices, and does your organization allow you to keep a reasonable balance between your work and family life? So these are some very basic considerations. So companies which take care of all this are generally seen as very good employers, and their employees tend to be more engaged, more satisfied. Or there are some companies which are not able to do this, but what they do is they give you very big bonuses, they give you very big increments to make you happy for the fact that they are not able to give you some of these conditions. For example, some of the consulting companies, they drive people very hard, but at the same time the rewards are very good as well. But of course there are some people who prefer some of this rather than to money. Okay. Then provide career development opportunities, uh, L&D support, learning and development support, growth and productivity, job rotation, internal growth, succession planning for fast trackers, mentoring and coaching. So these are all very, very critical. So that experiment which I was talking about earlier is known as the Hawthorne experiments, Hawthorne. It's a place in Ohio, USA. So what happened over there was that the management researchers, they were trying to understand what plays a very important role in improving productivity. So they had two sets of workers. One set of worker used to, they continued to work in the normal conditions that they were working in, and another set of 50 or 100 workers, they were put in a room which had much more light. They added more light, more comfort in that room. And they saw that the workers who were in the new room with more light and more comfort, they were much, much more productive. So the researchers decided to conclude that if you have more light, then people tend to be more productive. But when they asked the workers that you became more productive because of the more comfortable conditions, because of more light, or was there any other reason? So the worker said that actually the light and the comfort did not make any difference on our production capability. But what made a difference was when they put in more light in the room, when they added to the comfort, we felt that the organization cares for us. And therefore, we had to repay the organization in kind by being more productive and by delivering more. So you can see that when people feel they are being invested into, when people are being taken care of, people feel more aligned to the organization. And they feel that if the organization invests in us, then we will also repay the organization in kind. So that is where this experiment comes from, and the learning from this experiment. And L&D plays a similar role in every organization. When you train people, when you make them more capable, they not only learn the capability, but they feel that the organization is investing in us. And therefore, they want to do more for the organization. Okay, so let's see a video in terms of what Accenture is one of the most well-known companies, and what do they do to engage people better from a talent development perspective.
How can I pick one thing that I love about what I do?
The unexpected, I would say. The unexpected.
I'm able to learn new things every day and follow my passions and what I'm interested in.
You can learn and develop and grow in ways that you never expected.
You're with really smart people who understand your language.
I think what I love best about what I do is that it actually has the potential to change the world.
Accenture is a place where I can innovate. Accenture is a place where I've been able to take what I love doing, which is creating, to the next level.
I think the impact that you're able to provide is pretty amazing.
Access to big clients and being able to work on big projects where we can actually do real innovation.
We have really dynamic clients, we have dynamic resources, we have dynamic people.
Accenture allows you to work across many different industries.
It's amazing how you work with so many different personalities. Every day I'm working with different people, I'm working on different challenges. My internship has nothing to do with getting coffee or making copies. I have a very hands-on internship.
I think the question I'd have is, what do you want to do? Because you can do whatever it is you want to do.
You should be thinking about what you haven't learned yet and how you want to learn it and how you want to grow.
If you want adventure, if you want the ability to travel and see the world, if you want to impact companies big and small, if you want to play around with robotics, if you want to work in advanced innovation labs.
When I had my first interview, it was so comfortable. I felt very welcomed.
Some places allow you to really make it what you want, and so that you can get the most out of it. And that's exactly how it's been for me at Accenture.
The opportunity to work on these day-to-day, life-transforming things that are happening around you instead of being on the sidelines.
They care about who you are instead of what you are.
We are still learning what it means to live in a very digitally advanced, technology-driven world that depends on innovation. But if you want to figure it out, come play.
Okay, so any thoughts on what this video is saying?
Wow, I would love to work in a place like this.
I wish you all the best. I'm sure you will.
But so okay, the employees are extremely engaged at a very aspirational level as well as an operational level. So they feel that they are welcomed. Like in the first stage, just an intern is also made to feel very welcome. I love this sentence from her that they know who I am rather than what I am. So they feel that there is a customized approach. Plus, they have this capacity that there are processes or availability of you exploring your potential and making an impact. So this entire journey is good, and also the company takes care of you emotionally, ergonomically, and career-wise. So I think it's a multi-pronged approach which makes the person feel very valued.
Absolutely, Vinita. I think you've really hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what the video is saying, that employees are really valued. Employees are given multiple opportunities, multiple platforms to explore where their interest lies, where their talent is, and they can go ahead, grow themselves, and grow the company at the same time. So, very nice video, very simple but straightforward message, very strong message which comes out, and that really engages employees. Though Accenture is very demanding, the work hours are very tough, but at the same time, employees are supported, employees are grown, and they are given new challenges. They work on a global platform. So that's what it's really talking about. So great. Yeah.
So can I ask you this question? Like, if any company asks its employees to come and talk about it on the video, most of the employees will say these kind of things. So even the Gallup survey that you told, the questions, if I'm asking my team to write this, I'm sure that even though they may be cribbing about it, they'll pretty much fill up very positive things. So how honest is this survey, and how much can I rely on this survey if I'm just asking कि okay, how do you feel about the company, and मैं उनको कैमरा पे ले रही हूँ, obviously बहुत बढ़िया ही बातें बोलेंगे सर.
हाँ, आपने एकदम सही कहा. So you are absolutely right, Vinita, that when they will come on video, naturally they will say all the nice things. और जो बुराइयां करनी होंगी वो तो अपने दोस्त और अपने घर में जाके करेंगे. So now there are two things. There are so I have personally I have experienced both. So in some companies, Gallup is used, and HR makes sure that everybody gives honest feedback and nobody fudges the data. But I've also worked in an organization where Gallup is used, and the manager stands behind the team members and forces them to give the best rating. And the team members don't have a choice but to give the best rating because the manager is standing right behind them. So when somebody does Gallup, the leadership needs to make sure that the benefit that comes from this kind of an exercise should be a genuine benefit. It should not be a fake benefit just for the sake of doing it. But many companies do it just for the sake of doing it, just to tell the investors or clients or possible clients that we are at 90% satisfaction rate. we are at 85% satisfaction rate. When the actual satisfaction rate, they probably do not evaluate. And if they do, they will find that it is probably only 45%. So, so it is really up to the company. Many companies are genuine, many companies are fake, and fake those scores. So, you know, I cannot really say much on this, but it's really a choice that the company has. Though, of course, from a Gallup standpoint, they try to be as impartial as they keep everything in confidence. They don't share any data as to who has rated whom high or low. But within the company, when the service takes place, they try to fudge, data. So
Sir,
it
one
really depends on the
one thing I would like to add, that in employee engagement survey or customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction survey, we can reframe sentences indirectly or something, means not like, are you happy with the company? So instead of that, what gives you happiness? What means like reframing of questions sometimes brings out what is the truth. So there are so many ways to frame the question. So if we put the right question, then there is greater opportunity to get honest feedback.
Yes, you are right. And, like what you said about what gives you happiness. So those are leading questions. So leading questions typically lead to one kind of answer. So it is assumed that you are happy, but what is it specifically which is making you happy? You know, so so yes, you can use leading questions. You can tweak, the questions. But when it comes to fudging data, people who have to fudge will fudge, and there isn't much that we can do about it. But yes, if you want genuine employee engagement, if you want genuine improvement, then one should not do it. One should, and one doesn't have to go to Gallup. You can, like you rightly said, that you can create your own questionnaire, and you can, run your own survey, and make sure the survey is an honest and a genuine survey. Instead of spending so much money with third-party companies, you can just have your own survey and just make sure that it is done honestly. Okay, so moving on. So like we said earlier, this is a leadership priority, and absolutely is a leadership priority. So leaders and managers prioritize engagement, and leaders who do prioritize engagement, they always get good results. I used to work with a leader who was very serious about Gallup scores, and he drove it very hard. Every month, he would have a small meeting with all managers, assistant managers, and he would explain how we did that particular month. He would not allow any manager to misbehave with anybody in the team. He ensured a very positive culture in the entire organization. And we were all his admirers. I still, when I have to think of who was the most inspiring figure that I've worked for, so he's one of them. So I always remember him from that perspective. So leaders make a huge difference. And that year, our business had more than 75% employee satisfaction, which was the highest among any businesses, in that particular company. So leaders and managers who prioritize engagement, they are able to deliver good engagement. They actively review measures and outcomes. They regularly engage with focus groups and hold managers accountable for engagement levels. So leaders, as I was saying, they define the climate of an organization. A bad leader means bad climate, and a good leader means good climate. Of course, if a good leader comes, and you should not expect a miracle to happen within 1 month, 2 months. Things take time to change, but gradually, if there is a good leader, a caring leader, then you will find that gradually the organization also changes. The culture of the leadership comes down to everybody in the organization. Okay, so moving on, culture and communication of engagement. So treating people with respect and valuing diversity, empowering individuals. How do people feel empowered? Do people feel that they can do what they want to do? Or if they have new ideas, they can share those new ideas? People are encouraged to be creative and innovative. There is active communication, like I mentioned, town halls, business updates, annual days, you know, then employee satisfaction surveys to follow up action. So sometimes, like I was saying, that there are some organizations which are serious about employee satisfaction, some organizations which pretend to be serious, and some organizations which are not serious. So there are some organizations which do employment satisfaction surveys, but they don't take up any follow-up action. Some which follow up all the actions rigorously, and some don't do the surveys at all. So, but all the three kinds of action, they all have implications for employee engagement. If you have surveys and if you have
Sir,
follow, yeah. Any questions?
sir, I've heard Reliance in particular is really very bad with its employee-related services.
Well, I don't know. I've never worked over there, but if somebody has worked over there, they may comment. Yeah, but I've not heard good stories also or bad stories, but neutral. Anybody who has experience, first-hand experience? Okay, so yes, there are different companies, and different companies have different practices. So that is something that we as outsiders cannot really comment on. But there are many organizations which have good practices. I think Tatas are known for good practices. So uh, they have employee-friendly practices, while some companies may not have. Okay, next is very, very critical, which is compensation benefit. So, what kind of a base pay do you have? There are some companies which believe in a philosophy of always being above the market compensation benchmarks. So, some of the consulting companies, suppose you join Accenture tomorrow. So chances are that, without even negotiations, whatever salary you're getting, they will give you a good increment over that your current salary. So some companies believe in having a base pay which is above the market average. Then what kind of incentives do you have? Short term, long term? What kind of benefits do you get? You know, um, like I was reading about, a friend of mine just relocated to India, and how much care the company took in helping him relocate. Every expense of his was paid for. Now he came to Gurgaon and he settled over here. So they even helped him get his children get admission, and they paid part of the admission fee. So various companies have various benefits, and of course, benefits are not meant for everybody at different levels. So you mentioned Reliance, and I believe their top leadership really gets cared for very well. They have very good benefits for the top leadership. Then rewards for contingent workers. Sometimes people work on a temporary basis and they are not treated with a lot of respect in many companies. But in many companies, they are treated with the same respect, with the same benefits as regular employees are. So the compound benefit makes a big difference, because a lot of people work for money, and while money is not everything, but it is definitely very important. And what kind of benefits you have makes a lot of difference. So I will share an example. I was working for GE Capital, and when GE divested in GE Capital and it became Genpact. So a lot of people were given a long-term incentive plan. People who were performing at a certain level, they were given an incentive so that they stay with the company for 2 years. It was known as a deferred income plan, and people were encouraged to stay for the company with the company for 2 years. And if they did that, they would be awarded additional bonus, for staying in the company. And so that was really good. And all the people who were thinking of leaving and exploring opportunities outside, many of them stayed back because of this long-term incentive that was given. So This really helps engage people. This also motivates people to stay with the company and do their best. So comp and ben is an absolutely critical component. Okay, so now let's do an activity. Uh, you are the HR manager in a newly opened delivery center in Pune for one of the largest US-based BPO company called Teletronics. The Pune center is placed in the middle of an IT SEZ, where there are other top-tier BPO and IT companies. The workforce is new, but the attrition is already quite high, perhaps due to multiple opportunities in the neighborhood, or maybe due to the pressure to perform at Teletronics. So clients of this company are very unhappy about the high attrition rate in the Pune center, and you as an HR manager have been tasked with reducing attrition. One way is to improve the engagement level of the employees so that they stay with the organization. So what you have to do is develop an employee engagement program and implement the same at the Pune Center of Electronics. So I would divide you into two teams, Team A and Team B. Uh, you can discuss amongst yourself and decide on what sort of an employee engagement plan would you like to create, what sort of an employee engagement program would you like to create for this particular company. Are you clear in terms of what needs to be done?
Yes, but sir, what is the demographics of the employees and how many employees are there?
There are about 600 employees. The demographics is that except for one GM, rest of them are one GM and one AGM. Rest of them are all a few managers, and rest of them are all CSRs. They are agents, call center agents, and they have a few team leaders. So that is, they are all in the age group of about 19 to 25, most of them. Only 10% are older than 30.
Okay, and are they easily replaceable? Whatever they are doing, the work.
No, they are not replaceable. The client is very unhappy about the attrition rate, as this shows. So we have to engage them better. They are probably not very engaged, and that's why they are leaving the company. Okay. So we have to make sure of all the activities that we discussed earlier. How will you create a program for them which will reduce the attrition rate and engage them more? Is it
Thank
clear?
you, sir. Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm putting you into breakout rooms, okay? You have 10 minutes to discuss, and then you will share your plan. Hi, so welcome back.
सर 10 मिनट बहुत जल्दी खत्म हो गई.
That's how life is.
Yes, very interesting exercise, sir. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. So, which team would like to share first? Vinita, you would like to go first?
So Shushmita is doing for our team. I'll support her.
Okay.
Yeah, Sushmita, you can go ahead. Shushmita?
Sushmita, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sir, our team has started with a plan. Like initially, we'll go with an initial survey in order to understand what are the lacunas there in the present system. And thereafter, in order to simplify the work processes, we are distributing the task as per groups and individuals into long terms and short term. Our long term consists of 3 years and short term plans are for 1 year. Under that, we have planned to have a capsule of training and development. And in order to uh, excite the employees and in order to retain them, we have thought of rewarding them. So for short term goals, in case they are employees of the week and employees of the month, so we'll be giving them some gadgets, and we'll be giving them medical compensations and also some food coupons, etc., for those who will be performing and reaching the targets. In the long terms, we are giving them incentives, recognitions by some short promotions and all. And in case they stay put for more than 5 years, some gratuity may be added. Also, we have discussed of once they're facing some issues and in how to deal with the clients, as BPO is a very high demanding job. So we have thought of a group and a buddy system, in which if somebody is facing a problem, how to deal with the situation, there could be a buddy and they could interact and then deal with the situation in a better fashion. Also, we have thought of an engagement program by senior leadership, in which the senior leadership can give them the exact vision of the company so that they are better aligned. And also, we thought of creating a Bhadas committee, in which at least all the employees, wherever they're facing issues, irrespective of the hierarchy, can come out with the problems and it could be discussed and brainstorming can happen. So these are few of the strategies which our team has selected, sir.
Okay, that's very good. Um, I like the fact that you started with a survey and then you divided the actions into long term and short term. And some of the actions that you have decided, like having a buddy, understanding the stress level that is there, etc. So those are very good. Okay, good. So what about Yamini and Mr. Sahu's team? Have you covered these points? Do you have some other points you would like to share?
Yes, sir. Considering the sector analysis of BPO sector, where the working timings and stress level is always very high, so what we do is frequent review meetings of their work or their complaints will be the part of this engagement plan. We will link our incentives not only based on the performance, but also based on the longevity, and we will have some very attractive workout or gym subscription plans for the good performing employees. So the health issue which is generally faced by the BPO sector employees can be covered through this. Then programs based on productivity and work efficiency will be under the part of L&D activities. So they will increase their efficiency, and whatever the work pressure they are feeling will be covered in this. And some birthday and work anniversary by giving them vouchers of movies and there's fast food chains, because they are mostly youngsters. They like this type of activities and hangouts and all. So we will also use the strategies of vouchers and coupons on their birthdays and work anniversaries, and a two-way communication plan where irrespective of the hierarchy, they can come for the assistance of how to handle the stressful and complaining calls and all. That's also. Thank you.
Okay. So I think between the two groups, both of you, both the groups, you have really thought it through very comprehensively, and you have, very detailed set of actions. So this is very good. Anything else that anybody would like to add?
Sir, one point I missed, which was mentioned by Sahu, sir, that is flexibility, flexibility, considering the location and recent situation.
Okay, good. Yeah, work flexibility also makes a lot of difference nowadays. Yes, Benita, you're saying something.
Another thing that we discussed was that all the activities are divided into two parts, individual and group. And there should be customization. So each employee should feel that he or she is being heard. So the system for youngsters, because there is a very young age where they are still confused, this feeling of connect is very important. And also, even in this situation, Pune is a nice place. So outbound activities would help the youngsters quite a lot. So that again was to be part, it is part of individual and group exercise both. So outbound activities help quite a lot in bonding, in giving a connect, and in group exercises, as well as an individual feel. So that was also something that we discussed in our group.
Okay, wonderful. So, I think you really got a gist of what employee engagement plans tend to be like. And I'm sure you would do very well if you are asked to create one for your organization. One thing I can, guarantee you, if you have a good engaged workforce, then the productivity is going to be higher and your cost will actually go down. The yield that you get for your cost and your investment, that improves. So this is a absolutely definite way of improving productivity in a company, and a very, very important part of talent management. So great, thanks for your time today. It was an interesting session, and I look forward to meeting you again next week, same time. Meanwhile, I hope you have a wonderful week ahead.